The gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt were an important part of the Egyptian people's daily lives. It's not surprising then that the Egyptian pantheon contained over 2,000 deities. We will now take a look at the more famous and better known of these Egyptian gods. The god Ra, one of the several deities associated with the sun, was normally depicted with a human body and the head of a falcon. He was a creator god, creating himself and then in turn engendering 8 other gods. It was believed he sailed across the sky in a boat each day, and then through the underworld at night, where he would have to vanquish the serpent god Apophis in order to rise again. Heliopolis, now a Cairo suburb, was the centre of Ra's cult. Over time, Ra became associated with other sun deities, particularly Amon. Seth was the god of chaos, violence, deserts and storms. He is the killer of Osiris in the Osiris myth. In some versions of the myth, he tricks Osiris into laying down in a coffin and then seals it shut. Egyptologists are baffled by Seth's looks. He is frequently represented as an animal or a person with an animal's head, but they can't figure out what kind of animal he is. But most believe it is a fictional composite and that no such species ever existed. He often has a large nose and long ears with squared tips. He has a thin dog-like body and a straight tail, with a tuft on the end when in animal form. Osiris. One of Egypt's most important deities, Osiris, was the god of the underworld. He also represented death, resurrection and the Nile flood cycle, which Egypt depended on for agricultural fertility. According to legend, Osiris was an Egyptian king who was assassinated and mutilated by his brother Seth. Isis, his wife, reassembled and resurrected him, allowing him to have a son, the god Horus. He was depicted as a mummified ruler, dressed in wrappings that revealed just the green skin of his hands and face. Isis was the wife of Osiris, the god of the underworld. She was also one of the main deities connected with funeral ceremonies. Isis functioned as a divine mourner with her sister Nephthys, and her maternal care was frequently depicted as extending to the dead in the underworld. Isis was one of the last ancient Egyptian gods to be worshipped. She was linked with the Greek goddess Aphrodite throughout the Greco-Roman era, and her cult extended as far west as Great Britain and as far east as Afghanistan. It is thought that images of Isis holding her newborn son Horus impacted Christian iconography of Mary holding the infant Jesus. Horus was a sky god associated with war and hunting, usually depicted as a falcon or a man with a falcon's head. He was also the personification of divine kingship, and the ruling pharaoh was often thought to be a manifestation of Horus. Horus was the son of Isis and Osiris, produced magically after Osiris was murdered by his brother Seth, according to the Osiris myth. Horus was born to avenge his father's death. According to one legend, Horus lost his left eye while fighting Seth, but his eye was magically repaired by the god Thoth. Because Horus's right and left eyes were identified with the sun and moon respectively, the loss and restoration of Horus's left eye provides a mythical explanation for the moon's phases. Ptah was a creator god and maker of things, a patron of craftsmen, particularly sculptors. His high priest was known as the chief controller of craftsmen. The Greeks identified Ptah with Hephaestus. Ptah was initially the local god of Memphis, Egypt's capital from the first dynasty. The political prominence of Memphis allowed Ptah's religion to spread across Egypt. He was a member of the Memphite triad of deities, together with his wife Sekhmet and the young god Nefertum, his son. Hathor. The goddess Hathor was commonly depicted as a cow, a woman with a cow's head, or a woman with a cow's ears. Hathor symbolised motherhood and fertility, and it was thought that she protected women during childbirth. She was also known as the Lady of the West, and had a significant funeral aspect, as tombs were often constructed on the Nile's west bank. She was the patron of cosmetics in her role as the goddess of beauty. Wearing cosmetics was considered a form of adoration to Hathor, and mirrors or cosmetic palettes were commonly offered to her. Her statue was transported in a boat to Edfu every year to be reunited with Horus. A festival of their union would then begin. Anubis. Anubis was associated with the burial rituals and the afterlife. He was typically depicted as a jackal or a man with a jackal's head. The connection of jackals with death and funerals most likely began as a result of Egyptians observing jackals scavenging among cemeteries. Before Osiris rose to prominence as the king of the underworld in the Old Kingdom, circa 2575 to 2130 BCE, Anubis was regarded as the main god of the dead. Anubis became the patron god of embalmers after embalming and wrapping the body of the slain monarch, according to the Osiris myth. Thoth, the god of writing and wisdom. He was portrayed as a baboon, a sacred ibis, or a man with an ibis head. He was believed to have created language and the hieroglyphic writing, as well as serving as a scribe and as an advisor to the gods. Thoth, as the god of wisdom, was said to possess arcane knowledge of magic and secrets that other gods did not. Thoth is depicted in the underworld scenes weighing the hearts of the deceased and reporting the verdict to Osiris, the god of the dead. Bastet. Kets were revered by the ancient Egyptians and were even considered demi-deities. Not only did they preserve crops and reduce disease transmission by killing rodents, but they are also thought to be the actual embodiment of the goddess Bastet. Bastet was known as the goddess of protection, pleasure, and good health. She had a cat's head and a slender female body. Bastet was Ra's daughter, Sekhmet's sister, Ptah's wife, and Mihos's mother. Bastet has been worshipped as a god in Lower Egypt since the 2nd dynasty. Her appearance and powers evolved throughout time. Amon. Before the god Amon rose to national prominence in the New Kingdom, circa 1539 to 1292 BCE, he was worshipped locally in the southern city of Thebes. Amon was a god of the air, and his name probably means hidden one. He was often depicted as a man with a crown with 2 vertical plumes. The ram and the goose were his animal symbols. After the kings of Thebes revolted against the Hyksos dynasty and reinstalled native Egyptian sovereignty across Egypt, Amon was credited with their triumph. He merged with the sun god Ra to become Egypt's most powerful god, a position he held throughout the majority of the New Kingdom. I hope you found this video enjoyable as well as educational. Make sure to check out our other videos on a range of historical matters. Thanks for watching.